What's the most up thing that you have ever done? A couple of friends of mine had a sleepover at my house one time and we got a really dumb idea. Hey, what if we take some deodorant and ketchup and draw human outlines with giant dongs on people's driveways in my neighborhood and in ketchup write the words "get out" next to it? So yeah, that's what we did. Anyways, the cops show up next morning and boy was I glad to think ahead and draw one on my own family's driveway to make us look like victims. Never got caught thankfully, but looking back, adding "get out" was definitely drove that over the edge, and now I realize how up the whole thing was. That's why I always get a big lowercase t for tolerance made out of wood, and light it on fire. Really creates a sense of community. Put my hand over my brother's mouth and nose while he slept. I don't know what I was thinking, I was like 7. Had one of those homemade stress balls with flour at a friend's house and I squeezed it way too hard and it burst everywhere, so I just dipped and he got grounded for a week and made to clean up the mess. I'm not proud of this, but I stopped talking to a girl I was interested in because of her home life. We were getting to know each other, and I was invited over. Drove over there and her house was absolutely filthy. Didn't see any roaches but wouldn't be surprised if I saw one. I stayed there for most of the day hanging out and talking, but in the back of my mind I couldn't wait to get out of there. She was living with a friend's family of anywhere between 7 to 9 kids. Because she was having drama with her own family, the house reeked of animal urine and there was just trash everywhere. The carpets felt sticky, tacky. I was just plain uncomfortable. After the day was over, I went home and practically burned my skin off in the shower. I don't know what it was, but going there gave me so much anxiety I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just ghosted her. Don't even remember her name anymore. I felt like such a piece of shit typing that out. Broke my own arm on purpose and accidentally scheduled my surgery on Mother's Day. Oh boy, here we go again. When I was a kid, a friend of mine came over for pizza and left. I was upset that he didn't stay to hang out. Heard something at my window and it was him getting my attention, asking if he could have the leftover marinara sauce. I said sure. Slightly opened the little marinara container and tossed it to him. He had on a brand new Tommy Hilfiger winter jacket. I had a friend who used to dine and dash all the time. He once made my mom come pick him up from his house, 20-minute drive, bring him back to ours, eat dinner, and the second he finished dinner his ride pulled up and he left. He wouldn't even clean up his plate or anything, just ate and left. My mom was livid with him. So after that, when he came over again and tried to pull that same thing, and my mom said, "I'm not feeding you. If you're hungry you can leave and go get your own food. I'm not cooking for you." And he got all mad and called my mom rude for not giving him food, and she snapped and said, "No. Rude is making someone pick you up. Eat their food and leave the second you're done. I am not a restaurant." We had a marathon race, the entire school. I was in second place, most OD the race, and the guy in front of me would have won no doubt. Instead I told him it would be a good idea if we both ran across the finish line together. He agreed. Only for me to run ahead just a few meters before the finish line. I won, but in the most shitty way ever. It was a good lesson though. If I can't win properly, I'd much rather come second. Silk underwear was a thing way back. I shat myself once while on a sled with my brother. I somehow managed to unzip and bury it while crying in anger and frustration. Mom found it while walking the dog. I cried again. Pissed myself at a friend's house, then his parents had to replace the carpet. I was a kid. In the 3rd grade, one believe. Well, we had this bookshelf with all sorts of books that our classmates were allowed to borrow as we pleased. One day in particular, a book that the teacher was looking for had been missing, so she asked all of us where this book had went. Not sure why it was such a big deal looking back, but it was for whatever reason. So she then made us all search for the book in the classroom, checking backpacks, shelves, and of course our own desks. We're all looking and whatnot, and I'm digging around my own messy desk, as I would assume most of my classmates were at the time, and I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. My desk mate next to me was doing the same, more in her in a bit. Well, after even more digging I found that book in my desk. I was scared shitless that I was now the guilty bad kid who had this golden book the entire time. Know what I did? I grabbed it and chucked the book into my desk mate's desk. Super up. I know. I guess I was so used to being seen as a good kid that I could not fathom being the one that stole the book from class. Well, my classmate saw what I did and then threw the book back on top of my desk. The teacher notices that and comes right over to us. I panic. He threw the book in my desk. My classmate yells out, "No, I didn't." I respond with a look of terror on my face. Well, the teacher took my side and pretty much berated the girl I set up. It didn't help that this girl had some frequent behavioral issues, but she ended up not liking me for the rest of the year. And deservingly so. Every once in a blue moon I think about how up that was of me and how I got her in trouble. I know I was just a child, but I think I learned about having guilt after doing that. During middle school I hustled a little bit. You know, buy cigarettes for $1 and sell them for $2, etc. Anyways, the school had these rooms that you needed a key fob to open. A teacher walked by and dropped her fob, so I figured I could sell it. I sold it to some random guy on the street for $60. For a kid from a poor background who hustled for something to eat, it was loads. I found out about a week later that the school was robbed. All the computers, books, basically anything of value. We found out that they got in from the staff entrance at the back, which needed a fob. Still feel guilty about it to this day. It was a public school with little to no funding in a poor area. When I was a kid, we had a sandbox and a swing set with 3 swings. The sandbox had become a latrine for our 5 cats. When the 2 neighbor kids came over to play with me and my sister, that meant that we were 1 swing short. I forget who did it first, but someone who was tired of waiting for a turn on the swings took a leaf and used it to pick up a cat turd out of the sandbox. They threw it at one of the kids on one of the swings and hit them with it. The infuriated swinger leapt off the swing and chased the turd thrower all over our large yard. The thrower managed to evade the swinger, returned to the swing set, and claimed the empty swing. We all looked at each other and realized that the greatest game ever had just been invented. We played shit fight relentlessly for days, removing all of the cat droppings from sandbox. This shortage of shit led to preemptive claiming of potential shit deposits from the various cats by name. Eventually someone defied the protocols on the fecal option process, leading to the need for outside arbitration. It went like this. Mrs. Pete 1729. I claimed dibs on Fluffy's shit, but Dale took it. My mom, once fully informed of the game and its rules, put an immediate stop to shit fight in a very emphatic way. I shat in the school's toilet. Theirs was no paper, so I wobbled to the sink to clean up. Nobody came in. I was a lucky guy. BRUH. My first year of college. There was a really annoying guy in my class. He was a total douche. One day he left class and my buddy and I saw that he left his book on the desk. We took it, sold it to the bookstore and got burgers with the money. I helped him look for his lost book the next day for an hour. I worked at a super shady telemarketing company right after high school. They made people think they were a charity, but they weren't. They sold stuff supposedly assembled by handicapped people, and I talked in a voice that led people to believe I was mentally handicapped so they would feel bad and buy from me. I've never hated myself more, and I deserved to have my ass kicked. It isn't the most up thing, but the thing that makes me feel bad all the time. Years ago I took my mom's very nice stapler to work and left it there when I quit. I use a stapler multiple times a day and I feel so bad whenever I do LMAO. When I was a kid I brought a caterpillar to show and tell and I kept forgetting to bring it leaves to eat, so I accidentally starved it to death and I still deal with the guilt. I stole some Mother Teresa cards from our church and convinced my little cousin to go with me door to door selling them, saying we were trying to raise money for the less fortunate. We then used that money to go buy snacks at 7-Eleven. I was 12 and to this day I randomly wake up wondering WTF was I thinking. Doesn't sound like it's the most up thing ever, but it did stick with me. I was 3 or 4 years old. Went to amusement park with family. Got into ball pit. Having a good time. Then, in the ball pit with me, I noticed there's a kid with some kind of disability or illness. Completely bald, with tubes coming out of his nose. I screamed, cried, and called him a monster and pointed until my parents came and got me out of the ball pit. I probably ruined some Make-A-Wish kid's whole day. A long time ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth and you could make prank phone calls, my friends and I called a random number. A woman answered and in a small child's voice I asked her if she knew where my parents were. I must have gone on for at least 5 minutes, asking for my parents. Got all upset. The whole 9 yards. At the end I said I had to go and hung up on her. To this day that poor woman has no idea what happened to that little girl. Jesus. Why does literally no one know how to prank call? Why do prank calls always seem to be seriously psychotic and hurtful? My friend and I played Poo Dollar one Saturday evening on campus in college. Now the traditional way of playing Poo Dollar is to simply put a piece of poo and smush it into a crumbled up dollar bill, and when someone finds it in excitement, they get poo on their hands. It's evil already by itself. However, a third wanted to join in on the fun, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. He had a huge wad of fake $10 dollar bills with Jar Jar Binks' face on it. He won them as a kid at Chuck E. Cheese. He said each bill was 5 tickets each, and bought a wad with the 100 tickets he won. He told himself as a kid that these would come in handy one day. Now mind you, these looked identical to a $10 bill, except substitute good old Alex Hamilton for Jar Jar Binks. So this means that people would pick up this seemingly fake $10 bill in excitement, find poo on their hands, but find consolation in that it's still a $10 bill. But nope, we even took the consolation away. It was a fake Jar Jar Binks $10 bill and you have poo on your hands.